Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 2 o'clock on Thursday, March 23rd, 2023 for the regular board meeting. I'd like to acknowledge that the Sunshine Coast Regional District is within the territory of the Seashelt and Squamish First Nations. We have an amended agenda in front of us. Is there any changes or additions to the agenda? Director Bax, did you have something you'd like to put under new business?
I will be reading a motion into the record to be discussed at the next board meeting when that comes up after communications.
Okay, so we would put that, where should we put that, corporate officer?
Thank you, Chair. That would be a notice of motion, which could be read out under motions when we get to that section of the agenda.
Under motions, okay. Thank you. So everybody got that? It was, there's going to be a notice of motion read under motions when we get there. Thank you. Any other changes, additions? No? Okay, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Made and seconded, all in favor? Thank you. So, we're down to the minutes section here, which is the regular board meeting minutes of March 9th, 2023, which is Annex A, pages 4 to 19. Is there any errors or omissions in there? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes as presented? I see a motion made. I see a seconder. Any discussion? No? All those in favor? Any opposed? Nope. It's all good? Okay. Any business arising from the minutes? I don't think so. Yes, Director McMahon?
Yes, I'm wondering what the next steps are in the Cooper's Green process. And if staff, I don't expect to, hear the whole thing right now, but I'm wondering if staff could come back to us at a future meeting and explain how this will go forward. There's a lot of questions in the community, particularly around the funds that were raised for the other location, and whether or not we can negotiate not demolishing the old hall, and a few other things. So perhaps I could make a motion that staff report back to us on this project at a future committee of the whole.
Do we need a motion, or would staff like to just comment on that? Are they prepared to tell us what the next steps might be and when? No? Yes?
Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me? I'm sorry, did we already adopt the committee of the whole? Oh,
No.
I didn't think we had.
So
I
should.
don't know. I don't have any authority to act on anything until the committee of the whole minutes are adopted. And at that point, depending on the final decision, I might be able to be in a better position to provide you an update in a few minutes, if that's all right. I just feel like I don't really have authority to speak at this point.
Yes. That's
Thank you.
right.
My
Very
apologies,
well done.
wrong
Thank you.
minutes.
Okay. So we'll ask that question a little later then, after we get by number 3. Would that be appropriate, Corporate Officer? Thank you. Okay. So we're actually, if everybody's good on that, we're going to move to item number 3, which is Committee of the Whole recommendations number 1 to 4 and 6 to 7 of March 9th, 2023. Recommendation number 5 is previously adopted, and this is Annex B, pages 20 to 22. Before we adopt the recommendations in a block, would any directors like to pull any of the recommendations out for separate consideration? Okay, hearing none. Oh, sorry, Director Gabius.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to pull recommendation number 2 for a question.
Okay, so that's recommendation number 2 for discussion. So, can I have a motion to adopt recommendations numbers 1, 3, 4, 6, and 7 then, please? Yes, I see it. Motion made, motion seconded. Any further discussion? No? Okay. All in favor of adopting those? Any opposed? Thank you. So, Director Gabius, would you like to
Still on, sorry.
handle the recommendation number 2?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just have a question as to, since there hasn't been community consultation directed at Connor Park. So this has been like a pretty sudden change in the community, and there hasn't been community consultation yet. I'm just wondering if later in this process, is there a mechanism to if there are too many issues, is there a way to cancel the project later on? Is that a possibility?
Okay. I believe the answer is always yes, because directors can do whatever the heck they want. But perhaps we could, staff, would you like to comment on that particular aspect?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question. So if this particular resolution is adopted, I have a location provided for the hall, and I have a budget provided for the hall. We have a lot of work that's been previously done from the community to identify the community as a whole's needs in terms of what would be included in a hall. And we also have 5 other halls that we operate that we would also be looking to. So we have a lot of work to do because we are starting from needing to do surveys and geotechnical work. And so we have a lot of work to do. I would think at some point, if we are stumbling up against barriers that come through some of the technical reports or such, we would have to be back in front of the board if there was a change in budget required or something like that. In terms of the concept of the hall and the unknown piece for the community, because it is a change, I understand that. Staff need to sit back and consider how we inform and keep the community up to date about what's happening. So whether that be through websites, whether that be through open houses as the process unfolds, we certainly need to give that to some consideration so that we can bring the community along with us. We already have a meeting booked tentatively, depending on the result of this decision today, with the Community Association to talk about it further. So there's a lot of work to be done and a lot of information yet to come. And so certainly our intent, even when it was, no matter what the location is, our intent is to keep the community engaged and informed as we go along in the process. We talked about a website project page, pictures, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't see a change in that, but we do need to sit back and reflect in our thinking once a final decision is made. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Director Gabius, are you okay with that? So can I have a motion then to adopt recommendation number 2? Yes, thank you, Director Bax. Seconded, Director Gabius. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor? Any opposed? No, thank you. Now, Director McMahon, did you have a further question?
I think I'm happy. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Director Bax?
I wanted to know that, so the concern is that there's certain steps that we have to go through in order to see this project through to the end. And will there be regular updates and guidelines to inform not just the board, but the public on what those steps are?
I'm not sure, so I shall ask GM Gagnon. Could you handle that one for us?
Thank you, Chair. I think no different than any project, as it unfolds, we inform the board at points where we think we've got enough to update you on. We'll update website pages or whatever we have as we go along in the process as well. So I guess I'm not really sure if there's an underlying current to the conversation or a desire for something different, other than staff usually brings updates, especially projects of this size continue and carry on. So that would be our intent. If the board wants something different or more specific, perhaps they could be, let me know, because.
Thank you. Is there any further questions?
Thank you for the answer.
Yes, I suspect we have quite a few years yet to go on this one, so we'll have lots of opportunity. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to item number 4 then. I think we've covered 3, okay. Item number 4 is the Electoral Area Services Committee recommendations number 1 to 5 of March 16th, 2023, which is Annex C, pages 23 to 25. There, I'm on there. Okay. Before we adopt the recommendations in a block, would any directors like to pull any of the recommendations for separate consideration? Yes, Director McMahon?
I'm actually fine. I was going to move them as a block.
That's nice. We have a motion to move them, acceptance as a block. Do we have a seconder? Anybody going to second that? Yes, Director Stamford, thank you. Any further conversations or questions or discussions? No? All those in favor? Any opposed? No? Okay, so we're finished. Number 4. So, get my little mouse going again here. And we're moving on to item number 5, which is request for exemption from SCRD noise control bylaw number 597 for BC Ferries, Annex D, pages 26 to 28. And I believe Manager of Legislative Services, Hill, is going to talk to that.
Yes, thank you. So BC Ferries has requested an exemption from SCRD Noise Control Bylaw 597 for 6 to 8 weeks, starting on April 12th, to allow for night construction at the Langdale Ferry Terminal transfer deck to extend the life of the deck for another 10 years. This is a routine request for local governments and is within the SCRD Board's authority to allow a temporary exemption from the noise control bylaw to facilitate the construction. We also have Mr. Lightman, the project manager with BC Ferries, in the gallery to answer any of the board's questions.
Thank you. We have done this before. I was wondering, oh, yes, Director Henderson?
I'll move the recommendations, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Well, we need a seconder and then we'll ask questions. Okay, thank you. Seconded by Director McMahon. So we have a discussion. Director McMahon?
I'll cede to Director.
Director Gavious. Or sorry, my apologies, Director Stamford.
Thank you, Chair. I haven't had the pleasure of seeing one of these before, so I just have a question about how long in a week? Does this include weekends as far as the bylaw being adjusted? And also that make sure that appropriate notice should go to the islands, specifically Gambier, because noise from Langdale does actually impact across the channel quite significantly.
Thank you. We were going to promote, sorry, who was the gentleman? Mr. Lightman. Could we promote him into the gallery, or from the gallery into the meeting, so we can... I see he's here. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Did you hear that
Great.
question okay?
I did, yeah. So the question was regarding the number of days per week. So I'm getting a bit of feedback on my end too. So it'd be for 6 days a week, expecting it to run, as mentioned, for 6 to 8 weeks. The hours that we're looking at for those 6 days a week are typically going to be running from 9 p.m. at night to about 7 a.m. in the morning. The goal there is really just to minimize exposure to sailings, where we plan to stand them by, just to make sure that there's no safety issues with that. So 9 p.m., 7 a.m., 6 days a week.
Thank you. Director Stanford, did you have a follow-up on that? Okay. Director McMahon?
Yes, and my question was about the radius of the notice to residents, because as Director Stanford noticed or mentioned, the noise really does carry from Langdale Ferry Terminal. So, you know, if you can throw the net wide.
Absolutely, that's a great note. It hadn't been on my radar to reach out to Gambier, so I will definitely take that and run with it. I'll work with my communications team, and we'll get a notice out to Gambier. Otherwise, our intention is to release a notice on our website, and I myself will probably see what I can do to provide notice to local residents in the area as well.
Thank you. I see. Yes, Director McMahon, follow up.
Yeah, in the area being, again, you know, fairly wide, I have actually heard the ferry announcements from halfway up Mount Elphinstone, and it certainly carries along the waterfront to Hopkins and in other neighborhoods. So just so they know it's coming and our bylaw line doesn't light up. Thank you.
You bet. And maybe what I'll do, if you agree that it might be the best move, is to reach out to the RCMP in the area or the local police force in the area and make sure that they're aware in case they do start getting calls, and can let the locals know, if they hadn't heard, that this is what's happening.
Thank you. I believe we have Director Gabius up now.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think I just heard you say we've been through this before. So my question was, has this been done before? And if so, what was the reaction in the vicinity?
It's been quite a while since it has been done. It was, they put the notice out plenty ahead of time, and I guess everybody likes their ferry to be current, so we never heard too much about it at the board, but of course it's a different time now, so. Director Stamford, I'll go back to you.
Just a quick follow-up, maybe any notices intended for the islands. If they're sent through to me, I can make sure that the neighbors get it because I have all the contact information for that part of the island. It might just help.
That would be great. Is it, I've been working with Jennifer Hill on this this notice so far. Would I be able to get your contact information from her?
You can, Mr. Lightman, you can just send it to me and I will forward it on to the director. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer. Director Bax, please.
I imagine that you're going to be taking as best steps that you can to mitigate the escape of the noise. I was just wondering what's the nature of the noise? Are you going to be pile driving, or is it going to be more like cutting and grinding, some hammering? What can people expect in the way of
the latter there? Exactly. No pile driving. It is all steel work, steel strengthening work. So there'll be grinding, generators running, some mechanical hand tools for preparing surfaces for protective coating, that type of work.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Director Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. I moved the motion. I'm in favor of it, but I sure don't want this to be an excuse to not double height the second side of the terminal. That we're extending this for 10 years is great. We need that, but we desperately need the other side with the ramp as well. Thanks.
So did I hear a motion to accept the recommendations on page 26? Yes, thank you. And do we have a seconder? It's already on the floor. Yeah. Okay. I don't see any more hands up, so I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? No, that passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Lightman.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time.
So we're on to item number 6, which is placement of notice on title. It's Annex E, pages 29 to 33. Mr. Kennett is here. Could you, I think we probably need to handle these one at a time, if that's okay. So if you could introduce the first, please.
Thank you, Chair. As noted, staff have 3 properties listed for a recommendation for placement of notice on title, and there are details included in the report that's in front of the board. And with me, we have Chief Building Official Brian Kennett, who can answer questions on any of them. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on the first item? Let's see, what page is the first item on here? 30. Page 30? Thank you. No questions on 30? I don't see any hand. Oh, yes.
Well, no,
Sorry,
Chair,
Mr. Henderson?
I'd be happy to support the staff's recommendations on all of them. So I hear you saying you want to go at them one at a time, so if you wish, I'll move the first one.
Yes, thank you. I believe we have someone that would like to talk to number 3, so I'd
Okay.
like to get the first 2 done. Okay, we see that. Any further discussions on item 1? No? All those in favor? Any opposed? No. Okay, so we've passed recommendation number 1 and 2. So number 3, is anybody,
Sorry, just, can we make
Pardon?
sure? Yeah, my motion was for number 1, Chair, so.
yes, but,
So now I'll move number 2 if you wish.
okay, I was looking actually on page 20,
Sorry. Yes,
and it says number 1 is to receive
Right,
it, and number 2 was to pick the first one off.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we know that. That's the District Lot 4282, Plan VAP 1908018. That is passed. So we're on to item 3.
yes.
Which is on page, anyways, is there any questions on item 3? No? Director Henderson?
I'll move it, thank you.
Thank you. Do I see a seconder? Yes, I do. All those in favor? Yes, that's passed. Okay, so we're on to number 4, and I believe, what page is that one on? Anybody got that on the tip of their?
We're on page 31.
Page 31 at the bottom. Yes, this is 680 Wood Bay Ridge Road. It's electoral area B. And I believe that the owner would like to talk about this. So I think we need to get him. Let me just check and see if he's. Oh. Is Pat Cully put up her hand? Not, yes, corporate
Chair.
officer?
That might be the phone number that we see in the gallery?
No, it's not.
No?
No. Must have decided not to participate then. I don't see him. Sorry, everybody, I was told that the owner wanted to talk to us about this, so. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen here. Okay. Well, let's have a motion then to pass the third one. Yes, thank you. Director McMahon, do we have a seconder? Yes, Director Gabius. Any further discussions? No? Director Gavious, would you like to?
I got confused with the numbers. I had a question for number 2, but I can do that after. If that's okay.
Like to go and to ask for number 2? Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll pass let's call it number 3, which is the Wood Bay, and then we'll go back and ask for some clarifications. Okay, all those in favor? Sorry, Director Bax, would you like to talk about the third one, the Wood Bay?
Yes, I see that the idea is if we, this in action, he looks like he's trying to get a new building permit to satisfy the requirements. How difficult is it for someone to remove a notice of title on a property?
Thank you for the question. GM Hall? Could you answer that? Thanks.
Thanks for the question, Chair. It's a straightforward process. There's a modest administration fee, and staff are happy to facilitate that when these things get resolved, which is always our hope. Thanks.
Thank you for the answer.
Any further questions?
Because I was
Director Bax, you have a
I was
follow-up?
worried that perhaps due to a technical glitch, that the homeowner couldn't join us today. But
Yeah, he must have decided not to.
okay.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Thank you, that passes. Director Gabius, you had a question about number 2.
Yes, apologies. I'm just, because the inlet is a vast place, and I think this issue kind of highlights the issue of development in remote areas, because it seems like staff sort of stumbled upon this problem, and I'm wondering what the strategy is for remote places. Like, how do we go up there? Does the SCRD go up there often to check, or how often?
Thank you. Staff would,
Thank you for the question. We don't own a boat. We don't patrol. But when we are in the area inspecting, we keep an eye open for non-compliance. It's about all we can do to maintain compliance.
thank you. I remember many years ago, they actually took an airplane and flew over Nelson Island and spotted a whole bunch of new development. Yeah, they have quite a challenge for the remote areas. I don't think we'll buy a boat, though. No. Borrow seashells, they have one? Okay, so I think we have finished with that item. And we're now on to Office of the CAO Monthly Report, Annex F, pages 34 to 35. CAO, can you fill us in?
Happy to take any questions anyone has.
Come on, that seems too easy. Oh, I'm sorry, I was busy. Yes, Director McMahon.
Yes, I would just like to highlight the promotion of Jennifer Hill into the newly created position of Manager Legislative Services. Congratulations.
Very well deserved. Thank you for taking that, Jennifer. It probably means a change in title, more work, and no more money if it's typical. Okay. Oh yes, sorry, Director Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. I guess in addition to what we've got here, I'd be interested in hearing from the CAO about successes or what are his priorities for in the next, perhaps between now and the next report.
CAO, you prepared to discuss that issue?
Well, I can speak in general terms that getting through today is my current priority, And we've got a lot of work that we're doing in various departments, but a lot of the really important work is coming to a public meeting near you, and it's going to be on water. Water, 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 and more water. We're spending a tremendous amount of resources and energy on it. We're trying to support the ongoing newly formed Water Summit series that's being held with all the elected leaders on the Sunshine Coast, which we're happy to support. But working on providing information to the public about what to expect in the summer of 2023 that might be different from what we've experienced in 2022 or 2021 if the conditions are the same is very high on my list of priorities, as is making sure that we're moving as smoothly as possible on all of the issues and projects that we have on the go. Thank you.
Thank you, CAO. Is there further questions? I do note that we have a temporary GM in Mark Brown, and I'm not sure we've actually formally welcomed you back, but thank you very much for coming back and helping us out. We really do appreciate that. Thank you. Communications. Oops, sorry. I have a change to the agenda here. We are, if I can find the script, going to go in camera. Oh, we got a notice of motion first? Yes. Okay. Sorry, I got two agendas here. I'm busy going back and forth. Yes, we have a notice of motion. Director Bax, would you
Certainly.
like to read that notice of motion
Notice of
for us?
motion. Notice of motion that the Board of the Sunshine Coast Regional District send a letter to BC Timber Sales and the BC Ministry of Forests asking to remove the 4 proposed cut blocks referred to as TA0521 on Mount Elphinstone from the BC Timber Sales operating plan until concerns over potential impacts of logging on downstream properties and water users and infrastructure have been addressed, and that the timber supply review and phase 3 of the Mount Elphinstone South Watershed Assessment are completed. Also, and that the SCRD requests BC Timber Sales to undertake a hydrogeological study to evaluate potential impacts of logging these TA0521 blocks on downstream properties, wells, and surface water users and infrastructure, and that the SCRD submits a formal request to the provincial government to legally designate TA0521 blocks on the Mount Elphinstone as legal spatial old growth management areas for recruitment purposes as per the recommendations of the BC Old Growth Technical Advisory Panel, and further that the letter and request along with supporting maps be sent to the following parties with a request for a written response. Pierre Urbain, practices forester at BC Timber Sales, Derek Leftler, District Manager of the Sunshine Coast Natural Resource District, the Nicholas Simons, the MLA for Powell River Sunshine Coast. Let me see. Bruce Ralston, BC Minister of Forests, and Nathan Cullen, BC Minister of Lands, Waters, and Resource Stewardship. And I ask that this motion be brought forward at our next board meeting. And a copy be circulated. Thanks.
Yes, I don't believe we're ready to discuss it at this meeting, so I'd like to take that as a notice of motion for the next meeting. Is that the correct procedure, Corporate Officer?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So noted. We'll ensure it's on the next board agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. Director Bax, is that good? Yes. Thank you. We have...
Chair, if I may, Chair?
Sure, sorry.
I'd just like to be clear, I'm concerned about our resources, and in this respect, we can get that document back as your notice of motion, but we're not directing staff to do anything at this point?
No, there was no motion,
Yeah, no,
nothing
that-
to,
That's my understanding. I just wanted that clarified. Thank you.
yes, it's, the intent is to give us time to think about it, do a little research prior to discussing it. Yes, thank you for the clarification. Okay. Where am I here? I do believe now's the time to go in camera. So I'd like a motion that the public be excluded from attendance in the meeting in accordance with section 91A, F, G, I, J, K, and 2B of the community charter. Can I have a motion? Yes. Director McMahon, Director Toth. Any discussions? No? Director Henderson?
Chair, I'm too quick. I've got a motion after this about the alternates.
Oh, yes, okay, perfect. All those in favor? Okay, now I believe we would, yes, go ahead for the,
I think I have it right that motion to include, whoops. My alternate is not in the room, but Christine Alexander, Ian Wynn, and Landon Dix be authorized to stay in the meeting.
yes. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Yes, any discussion? No? All those in favor? All those in favor? Okay,
Might I also observe there's a phone call person with their hand up?
Yes, Chair, I was just going to clarify if you were going to do a question period before we want to go in camera.
Yes.
okay. We'll go with the question period before we go in camera. Is there any questions from, there's none in the place here. And I believe Donna. Can we let her in with us there? I think she is. Okay. Donna. We can't hear you.
Because we're going in camera. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. We'd like to hear your questions before we do go in camera, because sometimes we make everybody go away because we take too long.
Well, I wouldn't be prepared to go away. I would just be prepared to lose you because technology doesn't always work well for me. And trying to get you back again could be a real hassle. So I thought I would just grab this chance to say, so are there going to be no reports? No director's reports? Is that only once a month or?
Yes, there will be director's reports when we come back.
All right, so the comeback thing. So could I get instructions from staff as to what would be a good way to come back, or because I think if I leave you on my phone, that a robot will come on and say, you.
Yes, I do believe
They kick me off. Let's put it that way. The technology hangs up on me, so to speak.
Yes, just a sec. Director Toth, you have a comment?
Well, I'm just wondering if Donna disconnects now, she'll be able to rejoin the meeting after we go back into open session. One of us will just have to give her a quick phone call or something to let her know that we're going back into the open session. That's all.
That would work very well for me.
Yeah, which we will make sure somebody calls.
Great
And then
suggestion.
and when somebody calls, I'll just reconnect myself as I got myself to this meeting. I'll just do the same thing over again.
That should work. If it doesn't, we'll definitely blame Director Toth. And if it does work, we'll all take credit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we just take a short break to get some coffee. Yes.
Just as we're bringing in some of the alternates into the in-camera session, we'll just have to make sure that they're promoted as panelists so they're able to confirm that they can secure their spaces.
We should make them panelists now then.
Yes.
Bryce, can you make?
Yeah, on it.
Thank you. Where the heck am I? I'd like to acknowledge we're back to the regular board meeting of Thursday, March 23rd, 2023. Let's see, do we have our attendee back? No, not yet. Okay. Let me figure out where we are now. So, we're back to the regular board meeting, and we're on item number 8 of bylaws, bylaw number 8, which is Annex G, page 36 to 77. Everybody has a chance to get there? Except for me. Sorry, just a minute here. I'm looking for my... Page 36 on the amended agenda. I'll go with the paper copy here. Okay, so it's we're actually in the we're going to look to adopt a bylaw. Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan bylaw number 740 of 2023. And this is for the first reading, and it's voting as all directors, which is a weighted vote. And because of where we are, the motion for adoption requires at least 2/3 of the vote cast. Corporate officer, is that, do I have, all good with all that?
Thank you, Chair. Yes. So adoption of the bylaw may take place at the same meeting that we do third reading. However, adoption of the bylaw must pass by 2/3 of the votes cast of those present.
Okay, thank you. So can I have a motion for first reading of this? Yes, I see a motion. Do I have a seconder? Yes, I do. Okay, so let's have some discussions on that then. It's on the floor. Director Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. There's been a series of these floating around. So to start with, can I confirm that what we received as, I think it was called late item? No, beg your pardon, SCRD financial plan. It was sent a couple of days ago. Are there changes to that document? So whichever version we're using, we might get confused on page numbers, but they're all the same. Great, thank you. Second part, if I may, is I'm interested to know what I did flag this for staff a couple of days ago, I believe. What assumptions are we making in these other than a simple 2% increase of everything for the rest of the next 5 years?
Just for clarification for me, are you referring to the subsequent years or?
Yes.
Subsequent years?
2023 is what we have spent days on, but then the subsequent years are based on underlying assumptions, or there's interest rates, inflation, head count increases or decreases, that sort of thing. So these things I would encourage in future years, please. We don't actually need to analyze these charts. I'd rather see a summary of what the assumptions are. That's something I can interpret or I can understand, where I don't necessarily understand the assumptions that have gone into creating this spreadsheet.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So what I can say is the only assumptions that are made by staff in the financial plan years 2024 through 2027, we apply a basic, inflationary increase for wages that would be in line with, historical or what we see in the collective agreement. So there's inflators for those, and they are around between 2 and 3%. The only other assumption that staff make would be for interest rates for any future debt or approved borrowing, new borrowing, where we're estimating what the debt servicing cost of those will be prior to issuance of that debt. And for those, we just use indicative market rates provided by the Municipal Finance Authority. Beyond that, anything that is included is something that would have been approved by the board, is a contract that is in place, that is approved, has been approved, and is active contract. For items like, our staff's collective agreement expires at the end of this year. However, if there were, we knew what those increases were, they would be baked in. So I guess the short answer is, beyond those two items that I mentioned, anything that you see beyond, anything that is in the plan is something that has been explicitly approved by the board or the committee through the budget processes that we have.
So in fact, multi-year projects that we know of, then?
Yeah, so when it comes to projects, they will typically, like capital projects, the practice is to budget them all in the current year. We don't try to estimate how much is going to be spent in year one, how much is going to be spent in year two. They are included in the current year's financial plan, all in year one. I guess the caveat to that would be any capital plans that have been in front of the board that the board has had a chance to review and approve. Items related to those capital plans that are, in the future years, those will be included, but they're always brought back for review every year prior to adoption of the following year's financial plan.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Thank you. The reason I bring this up is you may have, about a month or so ago, CBC ran an article about how every municipality has a surplus. Well, if I tell you that, you go, gee, why are my taxes going up? And if you look at page, the cover page, if you will, we're showing a surplus for 2023 in this format of $10 million. Well, we know we don't have a surplus. So I'm flagging that because I think a lot of this is messaging, and how we message that in fact we're adding, for example, $12 million of government transfers in this presentation. But those transfers, I believe, go to buy capital assets, which are not recorded as disbursements. So it gets very complicated, but it's something I'm dealing with at the district. It's something I'm dealing with my profession. I'm frankly embarrassed by the public sector accounting standards that are in place right now. So suffice to say, we don't have a surplus. I can live with the 4-year projections, but we're not doing ourselves any favors by showing big surpluses. And yet I understand why we're doing it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't agree with it, but I understand.
Yes, thank you. I was quite curious about that. I've learned something. Okay, Director Bax.
I would like just a bit of clarity around some of the accounting here. So I'm looking at page 75 of the amended agenda. Roberts Creek Library Service shows a surplus of $84,942, which is transferred to other funds. And then I noticed that I imagine it's been transferred up to the Gibson's area library. And this is the Area D's contribution to the Gibson's library. Is that what that represents? And how do so the other areas that put into this, Area F and Area E, they are included in the tax requisitions part of it, and this is just because we have a service. Is that correct?
Yes, Manager Ring.
Yes, that's correct. Area E and Area F are participants in the Gibson's Library Service. whereas Area D is not. So Area D provides funding through the Roberts Creek Library Service, and the mechanism to transfer that funding to Gibson's Library Service is through a transfer between functions, as we call it, which is effectively just a transfer of the financial, the money, so to speak.
So transfer between functions is a possibility.
Yes, Director Lee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think we're good now. We've answered all our questions. We have a motion on the floor, and it's seconded. And so this is for first reading, and I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? No, okay. So I'll finish this now. Oh, sorry? Was there any opposed? Huh?
I'm sorry, I wasn't in the majority, but
Were you, did we have opposed? Were you opposed? Okay, did you want your vote recorded? Did you want your vote recorded? Yes, okay. Thank you for correcting me. I missed it. Okay. Would you care to comment? I would.
Yes.
on it.
it was going to be a second reading. I'll have to comment on that. I just couldn't.
Okay, I'll go on the second.
There was questions for those.
Oh, okay. I didn't call discussion. Anyways, I'll try it on the second one. Okay. This is the second reading for Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan Bylaw Number 740, 2023. Can I have a motion for second reading? I have one. Can I have a seconder? Ooh, someone second? Sure. Okay, good. Any discussion? Director White.
I really appreciate all staff's work on all the budget work that's been done. I'm concerned with just board direction overall going forward on financial stability, sustainability, and I've brought this up before, and concerns about discretionary costs and continuing to add projects. And we have so many projects, and my vote on these matters is very much kind of a signal forward. I want to make sure that going forward, we're really looking at improving our processes and focusing more as a board on financial sustainability. I think it's something that we need to prominently look at in our strategic plan. Working from that, really working forward, like I think really the key thing is bringing these projects down, making sure they get done. Because that's kind of a big chunk of our budget it's just cascading every year that's forcing us to add every year. If the projects were done and got replaced by new projects, I think that would be sustainable. And I understand circumstances, especially because of the pandemic, have led us to where we are. And but in saying that, I want to signal that I really feel we need to move towards a change, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yes, thank you very much. Good comments. Director Henderson?
What he said. But I'm voting in favor of this because we're voting in favor of a 5-year plan. Again, I shouldn't be too flippant. It is important to implement the changes that Director White is referencing, and I fully agree with him.
Thank you. I see no more hands up, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Who was opposed? No? 2 mayors opposed? Just Director White. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, I guess there's a delay here, so you lost me. So that was second reading. So this is the third reading for Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan Bylaw Number 740 of 2023. Can I have a motion for third reading, please? I see Director Gabius, second Director McMahon. Any further discussions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? I'll get this right. Okay. Any opposed? Director White? Yes, okay. And you'd like that recorded as well? Carrying right on? Do whatever you want with it. Up to you. Okay, so this is for adoption of the Sunshine Coast Regional District Financial Plan Bylaw number 740 of 2023. Can I have a motion to adopt the bylaw, please? It's, yes, Director Stamford, seconded. Director McMahon, thank you. Yes, Corporate Officer?
I just want to confirm the vote before you vote. So there are 17 votes in the room right now, and we need 12 to adopt this bylaw.
Okay, thank you. So you want us to hold our hands up a little bit longer? Or we'll go with what we see?
Those who oppose, I just need to see clearly.
Okay, Director Henderson?
Point of clarification, what are the consequences of not adopting at this meeting?
Corporate Officer?
We must adopt a financial plan by March 31st, so we will likely have to schedule a special meeting to come back and try again before March 31st.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I do that. Thank you for the clarification. I think call the question now then. All those in favor of adoption? Thank you. All those opposed? One opposed. Thank you. That carries. And we have that done. Yay. Yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out where I am now here. I got paper everywhere. Oh, so we're to director's reports. Whoops. This is good. So I know we've had so much stuff going on. I suspect that directors are not too thrilled about the director's reports, but I think it's important to do that, especially when we have meetings that everybody needs to know about. So I'll keep this just nice and simple, and we'll just start from Director Paul, because I always end up leaving him last. Director Paul?
Yeah, I just had my hand up because I was going to say that I got to run pretty quick. For us, there's a lot of onboarding and stuff going on, but I got to see most of you at the last water summit and stuff, and that's been going great. So there's just a lot of budget stuff going on here too, as well with SCRT. So there's a lot of back and forth going here, but our projects are moving on. There's the wastewater treatment plant down at Wilson Creek, and so we got those things and a couple other projects and stuff going, but budget season. So that's about it. Hopefully next meeting I'll be down there with you guys, because we're still, I think we should be close to finishing our onboarding for council here. So then I'll be able to leave the office again. So that's about it. But I got to run now. I got another thing I got to go do. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Nice to
We're
see you
really
again.
looking forward to having you here in person. Sharing BS over lunch, it would be really nice. Thank you. So keeping it simple, Director White, I'll start this from my
Sure,
right.
we just finished our budget process too, and yeah, as reported accurately, the 6.5% increase, and it was a really difficult budget because 5% of that is going towards our policing, which we're ultimately going to need 30%. So we're up to 10 of that 30 now in preparation for when Gibson's reaches a population of 5,000. So taking that away, it was only a 1.5% increase, which was a really, really challenging thing to pull off, but we really felt we needed to do it because of these other increase, this 5% increase that we're saddling our taxpayers with, and there'll be more coming in coming years leading up to that RCMP increase. That's mainly what's been going on at the town. Had a lot of I've been putting a lot of work into advocacy recently, just getting in the first stages of letters to provincial ministers in particular about our concerns, and a number of those have regional implications, like BC Ferries and our highway, safety on our highway. So that's work that we're doing, and there'll be more to come on that.
Thank you. It's congratulations on that budget number. That's awesome. Director Bax. Oh, sorry. Can I have just a second?
No problem.
Director Stamford, did you?
May I ask a question regarding that? So when Gibson's does do its advocacy, sends its letters, do we get copies as a process, or is that something just done as required, or how would that work?
It's no. If there's something, actually, so there was one that's just completed. It involves the SCRD because it's about working towards water governance, following up on a joint meeting that happened at UBCM, and just renewing that conversation with the Minister of Water Stewardship, and looking at watershed. It's very much connected to the report we had earlier too, connected to recharge area protection. So that's actually been copied to the SCRD because we really feel the SCRD is our partner in that.
Okay. Yes, Director McMahon?
Yes, a question to staff. So if it's copied to the SCRD, does it come onto one of our agendas, or does it go into our reading file, or where do we find these?
Corporate Officer?
Thank you for the question. So it actually depends on the letter, but the letter will get routed through to the CAO and the chair for placement on an agenda if appropriate. If not, it would typically go into the director's reading file.
Thank you. No more questions. Sorry, Director Bax, we definitely interrupted you.
No problem. I'm fine with that. I'd like to thank Donna for asking for director's reports, because it really makes me feel like it's something I can do. So the public the constituents in my area have encouraged me to come forward with a motion, which I did this morning, that we're going to be seeing back at the next board meeting. It's an important thing to my community. My alternate started a petition online through change.org, which now has over 4,000 signatures on it, to the effect of that ties in well with the motion. I attended the presentation that BC Timber Sales made at Gibson's yesterday, and that was it was quite a bit different from the one that we saw this morning. It was longer, and there was some other dynamics within the room. It was quite interesting. I managed to create 5 pages of steno notes questions out of it. We had a great meeting with the staff from Moti, Michael Braun and Gundala, and they were very informative, and it was really nice to get to see them on Zoom. It would be nicer to see some of them in person, but and since then I've heard some great feedback from some of my constituents who've dealt with Gundala, and find she's doing a great job. The rural directors meeting was great to see everybody there. It was informative, and it's nice to see us kind of becoming a team. My APC had their orientation, and then a week later they had their meeting, and so they are starting to get their feet, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of recommendations they come to the table with for myself and the other directors to look at. And I couldn't attend my OCPC's meeting on Tuesday because I went to play euchre, and I ended up playing rock and roll bingo. And that's my director's report.
Thank you.
One more thing, I did purchase a sign from Vital Signs in Roberts Creek. It's a little plastic tabletop sign that announces to people that I am the director for Area D. It's got my name on it, and I put it on the table when I hold my constituency office hours at the Gumboot Cafe in the heart of the creek from 9:30-ish Saturday morning until noon.
Oh,
And that's the sign is working out very well. People are very receptive to it.
you're brave. Director Gavious.
Thank you, Chair. Well, what a hard act to follow. It's kind of unfair to be next to Director Bax. I'll keep it short. It's been a tough week in my community. It's been difficult for my community and myself. And I just really hope that we can find a good way forward and keep the communications line open. Please, I'm open to feedback. Email me, let's talk, let's meet, let's talk about what you would like to see, and let's find a good way forward. I'm really hopeful.
Thank you.
Oh, and I guess I should say what it's about. Just for the vote to change the location of the community hall, which is, it's a big change that we'll have to adapt to, but I'm hopeful that we can pull together on that. So thanks.
Yes. Very difficult file, that one. Yes. Director McMahon?
Yes, of course, the weather is always better and things are brighter in Area E. I have an outstanding new APC who all attended the orientation on March 14th, and I'm looking forward to our first meeting this coming week. On the March 15th, I attended the Streamkeepers Tea at the Chapman Creek Fish Hatchery. Streamkeepers now have temperature loggers on 9 local creeks, and they have collected almost 2 years of data. And they are looking for volunteers, by the way, if anybody knows anyone. I was delighted to meet our new fisheries community advisor, Jim Wilson. He is actually the first DFO employee with boots on the ground here in the coast in about 20 years since the closure of the Pender Harbor Station, where he originally worked. His job is to help people help salmon. His mandate, I'm going to say this very clearly, does not include enforcement. So tell your residents they still need to use the RAP line for enforcement issues. And the Fish Hatchery also reminded us that they will have their release festival again this year. Last year's was very, very popular. It will be on the May long weekend, and kids get the opportunity to take a bucket of fish and release them in the creek. So it's kind of fun. I gave my report to the Elphinstone Community Association on March the 15th. The speaker was Angelique Croning, talking about the hydrology of the Mount Elphinstone Aquifer. So today was my 4th meeting about the hydrology report. I do encourage the directors to get the full slide deck. We saw an abbreviated version of the report this morning. The one that was given to the Community Association yesterday morning was a very detailed report. It was very interesting. There were a lot of comments from the folks because many of them live in the area of the hydrology report and had comments and observations. And I think that's it for me today. Thank you.
I'll have to get that name from you so I can tell all my people. I'm going to just go ahead and be really quick. The one thing I'd like to comment on is the Intergovernmental Water Summit that we had. I thought it was quite valuable, even though we didn't deal with specifics. And I really am hoping we can get down to dealing with specifics. But it was very heartening to find that really we have shared values. We're largely common with our shared values. And even more pleasant was meeting the new chief and council. Very, very nice bunch, very easy to talk to, and very, forward-looking. So I thought that was a great experience, and they were great hosts, and I really enjoyed the chowder. So it was great. Anyways, that's my report. Director Stanford.
Thank you, Chair. Most of the items that I've been part of, people have already talked about, so I won't go into those. There's a number of little meetings that I'm setting up with Mainland Westhouse Sound. Once they've come to fruition, I'll be able to report out to them. On the islands, Gambier Southwest Peninsula is terribly excited because for the first time in 20 years, we have resurfacing from Modi. There's more equipment on that island than I've ever seen anywhere. So thanks to Modi for getting onto it so quickly. This was the last budget to pass in my work world, and Islands Trust passed average just under 3% increase for the islands, which changes dramatically over whether you're in Area B or Area F. But we will see if we can make that work. That was a very low increase, but we're looking forward to see how we can work with that. So other than that, I think I'll have more to report next board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's hard to imagine doing multiple budgets. Director Henderson.
You should try it sometime, Chair.
Yeah, I'm happy where I am.
Well, I've only got about 20 minutes or so of comments. Okay. Fun time opening the Hackett Park Playground last week. It's nice to be able to take credit for what our predecessors did. So I was very pleased that Darnell Seegers was able to join us for that opening. We are still living with the impacts of the fire in the Seashell shelter that happened over a month ago. And people forget there are people that are out unhoused now or living rough or trying to find places to live, but there's also a business that's been devastated by it. Budget, we settled last night or yesterday on 4.2 plus 3% contribution to capital, so we're at 7.2. And honored to host a group from the Kalhoose Nation who are looking at our water resource center. And I would encourage you to keep that in mind. This is something where you get a chance to celebrate. When you do a big project, you get a chance to celebrate it for years and years and years. And it's always fun to do it. And one day I'll be pleased to take you all, or we could even meet there. We have a lovely meeting room. Last but not least, I've spent a bit of time on water, as you're all aware, and I won't be giving up. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Director Henderson. I think that's the manager's reports. I didn't miss anybody? No? Good. Okay, so we have no new business, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I see a very eager bunch. All those in favor? We are adjourned. So, Donna, would you like to ask some questions or have some comments there? Can we promote, Bryce, can we promote, oh yeah, here she comes. Okay, I don't know how, yep, she's unmuted.
Well, I pressed *6 twice, but boy, am I ever bad at this stuff. That's what I get for spending my life blurting and not figuring out how to get myself in legally to these discussions. Thank you very much for doing the reports. It's so helpful to me as a person who doesn't have other ways of getting the information. I'm not getting out much anymore, as the saying goes. And it's wonderful to hear what's going on in my community, especially when there's so much pressure to do things so quickly and without always the funding, the staffing, And it's just so nice for us to be able to sometimes just go ahead and stop anyway, no matter how bad it gets, and actually be prepared to discuss things or hear things. Well, thanks everybody a lot for continuing to work hard at what is getting a more and more difficult job as time goes by. Thanks.
Thank you, Donna. It's always nice to know we're appreciated. Thank you for your comments. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. It was a tough day, and I really appreciate you putting up with me this afternoon. And we got through this. So thanks a lot.